What is going on, everybody? Zyonik here, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the Meta Simplified, which was an article written by Lorma96, so shout out to him, and he is part of the GamePress crew who create Pokemon Go content for the community, so link down to that article in the description. So he has been doing Meta Simplifieds along with Ryan Swagtips and BioWep. These guys have been collaborating on the Meta Simplified for every cup, so we're going to take a look at the Nightmare Cup Meta Simplified. And after we take a look at the Meta Simplified, we are going to dive into some of my own battles with the community, and just take a look at some of the wins, some of the losses I had, and why things played out the way they did, and just kind of break down every battle. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the latest Pokemon Go PvP content. Without further ado, guys, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, diving right into the Nightmare Cup Meta Simplified article by Lorma96 from GamePress. We see there is a nice balance of power here, just like every meta that has been in previous Silph Arena tournaments. The Nightmare Cup is no different. First and foremost, right, we got our dark poison users, right? We got those Skuntanks, Drapion, Umbreon, Alolan Raticate, Alolan Muck. We saw these guys in the Twilight Cup, and they're back again for the Nightmare Cup for good reason, because they provide great bulk. Their fast moves are going to be allowing them to charge up a lot of energy, and then their charge moves are going to hit pretty hard against most of the meta if you don't shield. Some of the key ones that we have been seeing performing extremely well have been a Legacy Umbreon with Last Resort, I believe Snarl and Foul Play, and then Drapion as well with Infestation, Aqua Tail, and Crunch. Those two kind of seem to be the front runners for the tanks, and then Skuntank as well is still amazing with Poison Jab, Flamethrower, Crunch, giving you great coverage and good neutral damage. Alolan Raticate with Quick Attack, Hyper Fang, and Crunch, still going to be hitting like a truck, and pretty much going to absorb any damage other than something from the fighting Pokemon. And then Alolan Muck bringing that gimmick Acid Spray with a Dark Pulse for good coverage to the Psychic users is also going to be a good option. So if we move down, we're going to see a Pokemon that it could go either way. I think it is really good, but I don't know, it can get covered pretty easily and walled pretty easily, and that's gonna be Spiritomb. Now Spiritomb is a Halloween event Pokemon from the special research that we did back in Halloween, so the only way to get it is from that or from a trade. But the thing is, it's also going to cost you a lot of Stardust to get this guy up. So you're going to want to try to get it on a guaranteed lucky trade and then power it up, because it's gonna cost a lot of Stardust to power this guy up. But having Sucker Punch as a fast move, and then Ominous Wind and Shadow Ball is going to be doing a lot of work to the Psychic type users, as well as Pokemon like Alolan Raichu, and then still doing some good damage to the fighters. But he is a huge investment, and with the fact that regionals are right here, that may steer people away. It's definitely steering me away because my Stardust is going towards regionals. Now we move over to the Psychic users. These are basically our guys to cover the fighting. They are a pure check to fighting type Pokemon, and that's going to be Hypno, Bronzong, and Claydol. Now there are lots of options here, because what you need is either one, Xatu, right, because he's going to cover the fighting type Pokemon with his Air Slash, his Aerial Ace, and then Ominous Wind as well is going to be nice for other Psychic type users. Or you want the move Confusion. So Pokemon who have Confusion will still do a good role. So if you don't have a Legacy Hypno, let's say, with Shadow Ball and then Focus Blast as a charge move, maybe you could go for Gallade, right? Gallade with Confusion, still going to be providing the same role, and what it is eliminating the fighting type Pokemon as fast as possible, right? Because that Confusion is basically going to be doing anywhere from 30 to mid 50 damage, depending on what Pokemon has it and what Pokemon they're fighting, but it's going to take a huge chunk. So basically 4 to 5 taps and it's going to delete the fighting type Pokemon. So that's why they are there. Now at the top, obviously we have the fighting type Pokemon, and these guys are going to be mandatory to have on your team. On your roster as well, basically mandatory to have on your roster. You could probably get away in a fight every now and then without having it, but it would behoove you to have it because it's going to counter the big tanks of the meta. And I think Toxicroak being the front runner here with Mud Bomb, because it's going to be doing super effective damage to a lot of the poison dark guys. And then Hitmonchan as well, gonna be really solid because he's gonna have Power Up Punch, and then he's gonna have Elemental Punches that you could use to counter certain Pokemon in the meta. So he's gonna be good. Poliwrath as well, a good contender. And then Lucario, as we see over there to the right. But the thing about Lucario is he's gonna lose to the other fighting type Pokemon because he's going to be taking super effective damage from fighting type moves because of his steel typing. So that is the meta right there. Now some Pokemon that are going to be mold breakers, meaning they've pushed through being, you know, last picks because of what they provide to the meta. Lucario, obviously, having Shadow Ball, having Power Up Punch, having Counter is going to be deadly, but you have to watch out not only for Psychic type users, but you got to watch out for the other fighting type Pokemon. But he has a chance to fight back with Shadow Ball. So if a Hypno gets swapped in, doesn't have any shields, you have a Shadow Ball, boom, that's going to do a ton of damage to Hypno. Alolan Raichu, personal favorite of mine. Huge budget type Pokemon, guys. Alolan Raichu's only costs 10,000 Stardust to unlock a second charge move. You can get it from raids around 1,200 combat power, 1,200 or 1,300 combat power. So it's personally mine, I believe, cost me 27,000 Stardust to invest to level up and unlock a second charge move. So that's huge. And the fact that it's so good is that electric type damage is going to be neutral to most of the meta, other than really the dark type users. Like Umbreon's going to be a wall to Alolan Raichu. That's just a fact. But it gets Spark, which is going to really drastically charge its energy. It gets Thunder Punch and Wild Charge. Both will hit very hard and both will charge very quickly. And there's a lot of shield baiting that'll happen there. And in the battles, you'll see that I use Alolan Raichu. So look forward to seeing that come into play. And if you guys are low on Stardust, Alolan Raichu is a good pick for your 6-man team to really save on that Stardust. Shiftry, the only Razor Leaf user that's going to be really relevant in this meta because of its grass dark type typing, is going to hit really hard to a lot of Pokemon. So if there's an Alolan Raichu on the field, Shiftry is going to delete it. If there's, you know, a Hypno on the field, Shiftry is going to do a ton of work to it. If there's a Poliwrath on the field, Shiftry is going to delete it. It's going to hit so hard, but the thing is, it's going to get you know, it's gonna get kind of beat up and walled by a lot of the dark type Pokemon, and then Xatu is gonna be a huge threat for it as well, with that Air Slash coming in and just doing super effective damage. And then Murkrow, very squishy, but it has its potential with its flying type moves to cover fighting type Pokemon. Again, if you are on a super budget, this might be a good pick, because you may have a Murkrow already available to use just from caught from the wild. You don't even have to power it up. That's another good budget type Pokemon. But that is the Nightmare Cup meta. So what you're definitely going to want to piece together on a 6-man team, you're going to want a fighter, at least one. You're going to want at least one tank, and you're going to want at least one of the confusion or fighting counters. So ideally, let's say you go on a Toxicroak, a Drapion, and a Xatu, right? That's going to be a good core to have. But on top of that, you can add in some more. Maybe you go double fighter. Maybe you get a Toxicroak and a Hitmonchan, and then you get a Drapion and an Umbreon on your team, and then you go maybe Legacy Hypno and Alolan Raichu, right? That'd be a solid roster there. But you can always mix and match, but make sure you have your roles covered. That's going to be important when it comes to the Nightmare Cup, and it's going to be important when it comes to any Pokemon Go PvP tournament. You want to have balance, you want to have coverage. And like I said earlier, this image is going to be available down in the description. Just head over to GamePress to check out their article. You know, have a read through, learn up on why these Pokemon are good, why are they in the meta. And shout out again to Lorma96 for doing this for us. Thank you, man. Alright guys, getting right into these practice battles, I'm going to go ahead and lead with Toxicroak. He leads with Toxicroak as well, so this is that mirror match where it's going to come down to who wants to shield. So he gets the Mud Bomb off first, so obviously I'm going to want to shield. It's going to be advantageous for me to do so. I'm going to go ahead and get my own Mud Bomb off here to force him to shield as well. But take a look at what I do. So I'm going to tap till the point where Mud Bomb's close. I'm going to swap to Hypno. Why? He's using his Mud Bomb and he can't see that Hypno's in right now. Now that he sees Hypno's in, I get one confusion attack to get him very low, so that I could not only save energy, but take down his health. So we're going to go ahead and get a Shadow Ball off here on the Shiftry. Shiftry is going to be destroying Hypno. It's going to hurt. So we take down a good chunk of health. We're going to go ahead and let the timer go down here. And then we're going to come in with Skuntank to soak his charge attack that he's going to be getting off while doing a lot of damage with that poison jab. So he's going to go ahead and get off a Leaf Tornado, which is going to give me the negative attack buff, which really hurts. But then his next Pokemon coming in is going to be Drapion. So we're going to go straight for that Flamethrower to try to do as much damage as we can. So we go ahead and get the Flamethrower off. He doesn't shield, so I'm actually going to swap to Toxicroak. I'm going to shield the Aqua Tail right here. And then I'm going to start storing energy. But he swaps his own Toxicroak in. But remember, I got him so low that he just instantly died. Now it's Toxicroak versus Drapion with stored energy. So you guys already know what happens. I'm going to go ahead and get the Mud Bomb off again. And that is going to be GG. So what happened there? We're going to go ahead and pause it and rewind it a little bit. What happened, what was key with that fight, was when I decided to switch at the beginning to give myself the biggest advantage at the end of the game. So if we rewind just a little bit to the point where we're going to be doing the second set of Mud Bombs, we're going to see that I swap at the exact time when he's going to be doing his own Mud Bomb. So one, I don't have to waste a shield, and two, I get one confusion attack off. And as you guys saw, if we fast forward ahead to when his own Toxicroak came in after I swapped my Toxicroak in. So I get the Flamethrower off as we see here. I swap my own Toxicroak in. I'm going to shield his Aqua Tail. And then remember, because I got that one confusion off, I was able to one-tap his own Toxicroak. So it just instantly died, which gave me a huge advantage in the fight. So moving into the second game, I'm going with the same lineup, but instead of making sound decisions, I make a poor swap. And we're going to see that here and see why it hurts so bad if you swap into the wrong Pokemon. So I lead with Toxicroak. He leads with Hypno. You need to bail instantly. I'm bailing. But look, I had Hypno in my fast swap position. So instead of having Skuntank there, I had Hypno. So I came into the wrong Pokemon, which means he's able to farm me on his Umbreon. Now, granted, because of that, I'm going to try to just let my Hypno die, get off one Focus Blast to burn the shield, and then try to come back in and salvage this game because of my poor swap. But that's going to be hard to do. So again, we're not going to be able to get off another Focus Blast. He's got stored energy. So we're just going to let the timer go down a little bit to set myself up better for endgame. We still have 2 shields, and we are going to come into Toxicroak. We're going to have to shield this right here. It is last resort. And then we're just going to try to do as much damage as we can. Now, the second thing that I should have done is not have waited so long when it comes to bringing in my Toxicroak. And I'm waiting for his Hypno to come in. But he doesn't. He actually decides to keep his Umbreon in. He's going to do another last resort, so I'm going to shield. Now I'm instantly going to put myself into swapping into Skuntank because that Hypno's coming. So again, now he can bail out of there if he wants. But the thing is, I have no shield, so I'm going to get this Crunch off to burn his final shield. But the thing is, this Focus Blast is coming, guys. This is GG. This is why one mistake can ruin a game for you. That Focus Blast kills me. I have Toxicroak versus Confusion. We all know that doesn't go anywhere. This Sludge Bomb is still going to do some decent damage, but it's not going to be enough to win the fight for me. So that is GG's right there. So moving into the final game of the night, I'm going to go ahead and lead with Alolan Raichu, and this is where Alolan Raichu is going to get showcased very well. So we're against Drapion here. Drapion, that crunch going to be doing super effective damage to Alolan Raichu, so I need to be careful. But if you have an Alolan Raichu, you're going to want to be shielding with him. So I'm going to go ahead and get this Thunder Punch off. It's going to do a good chunk of damage to that Drapion. We're going to go have to shield right here. Even though it's Aqua Tail, Alolan Raichu is very squishy, and it's best used when shields are on it. So we're going to burn a second shield here against that Aqua Tail, and we're going to store some energy, and then we're going to bail. So we're bailing into Toxicroak here. Now granted, I could have swapped into something else, but we're going to use Toxicroak. So we go ahead and eliminate the Drapion. He's going to bring in his next Pokemon, which I'm guessing is going to be a Confusion user, but it's Spiritomb, which tells me that he doesn't have a Confusion user. So we're going to go ahead and go for the Mud Bomb here to try to bait a shield out. So we do get the shield, but he is going to get his Ominous Wind off, which is fine. Toxicroak goes down, and then we're going to go into Umbreon here once we let the timer go down a little bit, because we want to have our swap ready to go later in the fight, as you see down there in the right hand corner. So he swaps to his own Toxicroak. I go ahead and get off the Dark Pulse here, and watch what happens. I get the shield, so now I swap to Alolan Raichu with Wild Charge, and this is why Alolan Raichu is dangerous. Boom. There goes all of Toxicroak's health right there. And the fact that I baited out his shield with Dark Pulse, I was able to finish him off basically with Alolan Raichu's Wild Charge, because he had no shields ready. So Umbreon going to be handling this Spiritomb. It's just a matter of time. No move that he has is going to be able to KO my Umbreon, so I'm just going to go ahead and get this Dark Pulse off to finish the round. So GG's there. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and again guys, if you want to take a look at this Meta Simplified article for the Nightmare Cup, link down in the description to that, and you guys will be able to grab the image from there as well, so you can keep it on your phone just as a reference, which is great while you're preparing for the Nightmare Cup. And like always guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.